Welcome to the Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks podcast. We cover all things natural, cultural, and historical in the world around us. Sit back and enjoy our sometimes snarky, often funny, and never dull podcast. Howdy, everybody. It's Susan with Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks.
I'm Monica. I don't know how much I like that countdown.
The countdown, like we're ready?
Yes. You know why?
Why?
Because I miss you clapping.
Yeah, because we don't need to do that here.
You don't need to clap.
No, we don't. Well, today is it's a national park day, so it's a big national park that we're covering today. And today we are going to cover Mount Rainier National Park.
Woo. Okay.
Which is up in
Rainier.
It's in Washington. And it's actually it's a pretty big park. Now, I've been to this park. And I think because it's not a park that's like, unless you live up there, it's not a park that you're like, oh, let me just hop and skip over there, because it takes a bit to get over there. But when we had gone, we actually did kind of Crater Lake, Mount Rainier, Olympic, then North Cascades, because North Cascades is also a national park, but it's pretty far away up there in northern Washington. So
you did a circuit.
Yeah, it was kind of like a circuit, but really was kind of like a line up and a line down. But, you know, it's like a circuit. But it's because sometimes you just want to make sure you get, while you're, because it always becomes, and I'm sure you've experienced this on drives and stuff, is that on the drive, we're going to pass by X, Y, and Z. Well, we could stop.
Right.
Yeah. And then, 20 days later, you might go home. But anyhow. So let's talk about Mount Rainier. Now, what I thought was interesting about Mount Rainier is that it is a volcano.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a volcano. Yes, it's a volcano. Which, when you think about where it's located and it's in the Cascade Range, it makes sense. There's lots of volcanoes in the Cascade Range.
Yes.
But that is, when you look at Mount Rainier, that is what you're seeing is basically a volcano. Now, granted, it's been dormant for a good while, but it's still a volcano. Now, it was made a national park in 1899 by President William McKinley. And today, I know that was a long time ago, right?
It was a long time ago.
And they say that, I want to say it was like the fifth park that was created. And it was kind of mirrored a little bit after Yellowstone, which is interesting. Yellowstone National Park being the first national park.
Okay.
Right? So it was kind of that ilk. But it's not a really large park, in my opinion. Now, it's about, I don't know, they say 369 square miles or about 237,000 acres, which in the scheme of some parks, that's really not that big.
Yeah. Maybe compared to other parks, but you tell me 200 and blah, 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 blah acres. I'm like, that's kind of big. Yeah.
Well, when I think about all the parks that are in Alaska, they're like gazillion miles. There's lots of land in Alaska.
Yes. Just in case I am cat sitting and the cat is over here near me. So just in case she pops on the screen, sorry.
Tell her to raise a paw. So anyhow, this park is a volcano, and it is, the interesting thing about this park, aside from that, is kind of how do you even attack a park like this? Because basically the park centers around this volcano. And so it's not like you have roads that cross over the volcano. That doesn't happen, right? So you're really kind of looking at roads and everything that go around it. And everybody says when you think about Mount Rainier and you think about going, the one thing that you should think of Mount Rainier as is a clock. And the center of the clock is the volcano. And then everything else is kind of around the volcano, but there is no road that goes around the volcano.
Oh, okay. So there's, all right. Doesn't make any sense, but go ahead.
Well, in one of the other things when they talk about this volcano, because the elevation of this volcano, or the peak elevation, is 14,410 feet, which is the highest in the Cascade Range.
That's high.
But I know, right? So that's pretty high. So you get a lot of snow. And when we had gone, which was in August of 24, when we had gone, tons of snow still out there.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and that was August of 24. So like we're in the middle of summer, but because the
Exactly.
elevation is so high, you have snow, which is kind of cool,
Very
really.
cool.
But you can imagine why, your elevation changes within this park are important, that you keep a layer of clothes with you so you can peel on or take off or whatever you need to do. Peel off, take on, peel off, put on.
Put on pool. Yeah. And on that note, let me just add that I've recently read a few articles of people that have died or have been rescued because they did not plan ahead doing exactly that. They started out going up a mountain trail in 80-degree weather, not calculating or planning for the weather to change once they got into upper elevations and got caught in much, much colder weather. I mean, you can die of exposure. If you saw our video about survival tips, you can die of
Hmm.
exposure in extreme weather in 3 hours or less. So you've got to take care and you've got to think ahead and you've got to plan when you do these kind of hikes.
Well, and that's why, like, there's no excuse to not have one of those. What do they call those blankets? Those, well, I'm going
A
to say
little
a thermal
bivy.
blanket, but it's not a thermal blanket,
Oh,
but the ones that fold up into a
yeah,
nice
yeah.
little.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no excuse for not having one of those in your backpack,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Especially if you know you're going to areas that have that kind of elevation change.
Exactly.
In this park, you have low and you have high. You have where it's going to be warm, you have where it's going to be cold. So,
Yep.
and with the snow that we have on the top of this mountain, the other thing that everybody's pretty proud of with this national park is that there are 25 glaciers that come off of this volcano,
Wow.
which is pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
And
that is.
I say that because if you've gone to Glacier National Park, where you
That was what
expect
I
to
was going to
see
ask.
a lot of glaciers, you don't. But if you go
Wow.
to Mount Rainier, you will see a lot of glaciers.
That's crazy.
I know it was a little disappointing when I went to Glacier National Park because I was like, well, where are
Where's
the
the
glaciers?
glaciers?
It's like, well, they weren't there. But it's a beautiful park and I love that park, but don't go there
Were
for glaciers.
were there glaciers there when they named it? Just out of curiosity, do you know?
I'm sure there were, because I think about like Kings Canyon, Sequoia National Park and Kings Canyon National Park. They're together. They're kind of
Hmm.
together. Kings Canyon was carved like it's like a U shape carved because of glaciers that had gone through there. We don't know that in our lifetime because it happened so many gazillion years ago. I think
Right.
the same thing would be true in a lot of the areas, particularly in Glacier National Park.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah, but they do make that specification though that Emmons Glacier, which is a pretty large glacier, the largest in the contiguous United States, and I'm glad that they made that distinction because obviously Alaska has its own set of glaciers,
Right.
right?
Right.
So this is specific to the United States and or to the contiguous United States, and so it is worth it to go to see these glaciers because we don't know how long they're going to be here. So
That's true. That's
now,
true.
this park also has a gazillion hiking trails. There's a lot of beauty and green out there, and it's 91,000 acres, I think. Yeah, 91,000 acres of old growth forest, which means original growth forest that wasn't chopped down,
Nice.
original growth forest
Right.
that is now being preserved, and that's pretty amazing. We have 91,000 acres of that in there.
That is amazing. And I mean, is there anywhere else you can see that? I don't know, other than, well, now old growth, I'm thinking of.
There are some other areas that have old growth forests, and it's kind of like redwoods, right?
Right.
There are not many redwoods still left in this world, right? And
Right.
they cut most of the original ones down. There are still some that are original or old growth, is what they call them.
Right.
We have a lot of areas that have second growth forests, which makes sense because
Yes.
we've at least tried to get those back. But
Hmm.
it's kind of cool. So now let's talk a little bit about the logistics of this park, because if you want to visit this park, if you look online and you see, how should I visit Mount Rainier, a lot of them say you want to pick a district to go to because there are essentially four districts, so to speak. You have a, you know, a southwest and northwest, you know, southeast and a northeast. You have different places you can go into the park.
Hmm.
But if you concentrate on one of them, you're going to miss other things. And so you just have to kind of pick your poison about where do you want to stay relative to what you want to do. And so because we wanted to see all sides of this park, we stayed in Packwood, Washington, which was kind of like in the middle.
Okay.
And then we would have to drive, you know, an hour this way or an hour that way to get to entrances into the park.
Right.
But it really does take planning, because they used to require reservations. They don't today, but they used to require reservations when we went, which was a pain in the butt, because somebody scheduled one on the wrong day.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Ruh-roh. You know, that is something that's worth mentioning again, is that a lot of times if you're not familiar with national parks or how their system works, which I am not, but luckily the one big one that I went to early on, you know, Rocky Mountain,
Yeah.
is that I figured out there were lots of entrances. And
Yes.
if you don't plan for that, or you don't realize that, and they're not close to each other most of the time, you know?
Right.
So you're going to have to drive. If you want to see something over there, you're going to have to drive several miles to get there. And evidenced again recently is when I was here, and we're going to do a podcast on that as well. Petroglyph has lots of hiking trails, but the one that I chose, I realized, is 6.5 miles from where the visitor center is. So, you know, you've got to look ahead and plan and realize that a lot of these bigger parks are spread out and there's lots of entrances, and you really do need to plan around that.
Yeah, you really do. And so the way that we did it is like we did a day. So the main entrance, I would say, because it's usually the entrance people are going to go through to get to the main visitor center. It's the Nisqually entrance. And it has one of those iconic, you know, signs that says Mount Rainier National Park kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the importance of this particular entrance is that it also takes you to the Longmire Museum, and then there's a Wilderness Nature Informational Center, and then you eventually get to, I think it's Henry Jackson Visitor Center. That stretch in there, that could take you like all day going through that.
Okay.
And the thing that's important, I think, about it is when you go to the Longmire Museum, you get to see what this place was like back in the day, because this is where, when we talk about the architecture of our national parks, it is all mirrored after this place in Mount Rainier,
Really?
in the Longmire area. Yeah. And it's really kind of a cool place that you get to see this architecture that is what they call NPS rustic architecture.
Okay.
Which are the kind of the big logs, the blending into the scenery and everything, because,
Yes.
you know, you're surrounded by all these trees and stuff. But you go there now, and there's an inn there. I mean, it's a small inn, but you can go. There's a general store. There's, like, you know, museum that shows you kind of what it was like when they were building the place. And it's so doggone cool. And you can get your junior ranger badge.
No.
Yes. And learn all sorts of things.
You know, the smart ass in me is thinking, so did they make all those signs with old growth trees?
Good question.
Well, you know, sorry.
I'm sure a few
digress.
trees were felled by the time they were building these buildings,
I'm
too.
sure they were. Let's preserve these buildings because they're made with old growth trees.
That just hurt my heart.
That's my job. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So anyhow, so we spent a day doing the Nisqually entrance, essentially doing the Longmire, doing the Wilderness, then going up to that visitor center, and then I think we did a hike and stuff up in that area as well. But because it's when you traverse this, and I'll throw a map up just so you can kind of see this map of how this works in this park, is that there are no straight roads. So it's not like going from point A to point B. These are all curvy, mountainy kind of roads. So everything takes a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And don't forget that when you look at a map and you see, oh, it's only 3 miles away. It's 3 miles of hairpin curves, alongside a mountain with a
Yep.
giant drop, and you're going to be going 20 miles an hour. So it's going to take you,
It's
yeah,
true.
you know, a while to
Sequoia
get there. Yeah.
National Park is very much like that, which I
Yes.
hated, but I'm appreciative of the fact that it kind of blends in with the park. So I
Yes.
deal with it, right? But I think it's more important to know, and this is why they talk about you really want to stake out what you're going to do because you don't want to spend all day driving around and not get out and do any hiking because they have like a gazillion miles of hiking trails out there. So
Yeah.
you want to take advantage of that.
At least a
So
gazillion,
yeah, just
maybe more.
so the southeast corner, which is the Nisqually entrance, is like the main entrance. The other entrance that people like to do is called Sunrise. They call it White River or Sunrise entrance, and that's in the northeast. Now, this northeast area is where you get to the higher elevations, and this is also where you want to do the hiking that gets you closer views of Mount Rainier. And it
Okay.
is worth every penny to do that entrance. When we had gone, because it required reservations, those reservations were hard to get.
Hmm.
But now I guess they're not hard because I don't think they're required. So there you go.
Or you're going to wait in a line for a long, long time.
And I mean, we were even waiting in line when we had reservations because I mean, because 1.5 million people go to this park every year.
Wow.
And they're
Wow.
mostly going because you need to go kind of like in the summer months. So you're kind of packing all these people into prime time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That makes sense.
it's busy, but the sunrise entrance is also it's the good one, and it's generally the road to sunrise is generally open July through early September. But it's like 60 miles from the Nisqually entrance. So
Ooh.
keep that in mind. So, and again, there's not a straight shot to get from one to the other. You have to kind of go out, go on a state road, go up, and then eventually come in on that entrance. So you have to plan those things out, but that's an important one. And then there's a bottom one, which is the southeast entrance, which is the Stevens Canyon Ranch or Stevens Canyon entrance. But this is where, and I can't remember how to say this word, the Ohanapecosh. It's an indigenous tribe. It's named
Mhm.
after this area. While it's another entrance in and you can get out that way, they had a lot of it closed because they've been doing construction in 2026. It's supposed to be done by November 2026, but who knows if that's going to happen or not. But
Mhm.
that particular entrance at that area is one of the warmer entrances because it is lower in elevation. So again,
Ah,
like we talked about before, it's kind of planning for the elevation changes and what you might want to wear.
right. Right.
Kind of
Yeah.
cool.
That is cool.
Well, and I
Um,
was going to say something else. Oh,
Well, I was going to
yes.
say, I'm trying to remember before you lose your train of thought. Did
hmm
the CCC do any work in this park?
I don't think so because it became a park in 1899. So that was before the CCC.
Okay, so they would have already been kind of established.
Yeah, for the most
But
part.
so did the CCC kind of use this as I wonder if they used it as like a blueprint, sort of.
They actually did. And that's exactly what the CCC did. They adopted it and then nationalized it to all the other National Park Service units that are out there during the time that they were in
Huh.
existence. So that's why you see a lot of and it's continued throughout, the adding of new MPS sites. They've continued this kind of MPS rustic look. So that way, places that are built look like they belong in the environment that they're in and not just something that looks like a sore thumb.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it really is. But just talking about as you think about going to this particular park, again, the driving part is big, and where you're going to stay is big. So you really have to think about what that's going to be and how much driving do you want to do. Parking will fill up faster than fast because now without reservations, you've got tons of people trying to head in there, and that can be very frustrating. So you don't want to spend a lot of time running around trying to one get to a place, two then trying to wait around to find parking when you just want to be out hiking because they have beautiful hikes out there.
A gazillion of them.
They do have a gazillion. And speaking of, because you don't want to drive because there is no gas in that park. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So think of that's why it's like you have to plan, and there's really no cell service there. I mean, limited around the visitor center perhaps, but there literally is no cell service out there. So, and you just have to think about where you're at. You're like in a mountain range.
Well, and I think in the speaking of the planning part, if you go to their website, every national park website breaks everything down into nitty gritty for you. I mean, very detailed, and all the websites for all the national parks will tell you if they have cell
Yes.
service, if there's no gas, if pets are allowed on what trails, how many, and then if you look on the trail part of where it says activities and things to do, and you go to the hiking, some national park sites will break it down into level of like your moderate, your easy
Yes.
trails, your hard trails. Some of them will break it down into time for you. Let's say you only have 3 hours to spare. They're going to come back in there and they're going to tell you you can spend an hour doing this one or that one. It's very detailed. Oh boy, she's got the paperwork. I should have known.
Because you said that, because when you go to a lot of parks, you appreciate what each park can give you, right, in terms of preparing you.
Yes.
This park, Mount Rainier, let me hold this up. 4 different sheets
Wow.
of the 4 different areas. This is Longmire, Paradise Area Trails, Sunrise Area Trails, and Ohanapecosh Area Trails. All of these are trail information, and they have them listed. I don't know if you can see, but it's like easy, moderate. They have them separated out.
Nice, nice.
And piece de resistance, there's a map on the back.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, it was so doggone helpful. I mean, every single one has a map on the back. So that way.
And again, in your ability to be prepared, don't forget the maps that they provide are great. They're pretty simple maps. You want more detail? Get on AllTrails, look at your maps there. Get a topographical map of the area that you're going to be in. I know that sometimes they sell them in the visitor centers, but you can also download them and put them into, waterproof sheeting that you can take with you that have at least, even if you can't read a map, okay? Even if you can't read a map, you can figure out where you are by certain landmarks that they show you. You're going to know by the little markings if you're going up to a hill, there's going to be elevation. You can figure stuff out. It's not hard. You may not get down to details and nitty gritty, but you can do it.
You'll have enough to go by, enough breadcrumbs.
Yes,
but that's
exactly.
Also why once you've determined where and what trails you want to do, take the time in the visitor center where there's generally going to be Wi-Fi, because generally that's how they're checking you out of the gift store. That's the time to use your AllTrails, download the map at that point.
Yep.
Because once you're out on the trail, you're probably not going to have signal.
That's right. And talk to the rangers and find out what's going on those trails. Tell them
that's
I'm
where you
going
get
on
these.
This trail. That's right. Because, are there any animal sightings? I was having lunch with some friends yesterday, and one of the girls I was having lunch with, she had done a hiking trail here in Albuquerque, and she mentioned that she was hiking up this trail, and there was a baby mountain lion that was deceased on the trail.
Oh my.
So of course, you're going to be on the lookout for mama because of whatever happened here. And now it wasn't a park or anything, but that's the kind of thing that a park ranger would tell you, hey, we spotted this, we saw this, so be on the lookout for this. That's the kind of thing that you need information on.
Well, and of course, usually if like some of the parks I've been to, like if they know there are active bears, they're going to close the trail.
Exactly.
Until they know that the bears are no longer active on that trail.
Yep.
Or like in some of the parks right now, I want to say, Glacier, I think, had water. There were fires in some park that they were closing down trails in different sections of the park. That's why the park rangers are so helpful. And you should make sure that you pick up your copy of the newspaper for the park, because it too has a lot of great, wonderful information. So
I think chock full of information.
They really are. And Mount Rainier, and I don't know if it's just because, it was one of the, top 5 that were built. national parks, that it really has down the visitor experience. And even though it's widespread getting to the different areas, they really cover all the things that you need to have for your enjoyment of the national park. Because one of the other things, and these are my of course the brochures, but the wildflowers there are amazing. You're not supposed to pick them, but they sure are pretty.
Wildflowers, people, don't pick them.
Don't pick them, but take lots of pictures.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyhow, lots of trails. Get out there and hike them. Make sure you plan ahead. The weather can be rainy or sunny or cold or warm. It just prepare for everything.
Yep.
But it's definitely a park that I was glad that I went to and I would go to again.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's about all I have to say about that.
Well, all right. I guess then we should ask you to maybe like and give us a thumbs up and subscribe and share and all that stuff. Buy us a coffee and buy merch on our Zazzle store. All that stuff.
All of that good stuff, because we enjoy bringing you some interesting things and some ideas about where you might want to go on your next vacation.
Yep. Family travel.
That's right. All right. Anything else, Monica?
Nope. Got nothing.
All right. Well, then you know what? We need to tell them. Hike your own hike. All right. We'll see y'all next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening, and remember to follow our podcast wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks on YouTube, where you also get to see our lovely faces, pictures, and videos of our journey.